Fantano has finally done it. He has waged war against the NF fan base. Interestingly, though, I actually haven't seen any pushback. I'm not in any music circles of seeing people responding to this recent Fantano review in a negative way. Like, his comment section in this instance is actually filled with people who agree that NF is cringe and bad. I guess there's not a ton of overlap between the NF and the Fantano fan base, which makes it interesting that he even reviewed the album. I thought it was a massive surprise when he started talking about NF's tracks in the track review weekly segments, and then he actually reviewed the Clouds mixtape and gave it a score that was way more positive than I could have imagined from Fantano. It was a 5, which was, in my opinion, a big dub that he was even talking about NF and saying positive things about him. Of course, a lot of negative things, but saying positive things and saying I believe that he was hopeful for NF's future, but then he slaps on the harshest criticism possible on the Fantano channel, which is of course the not good. That's right, this new NF album is so bad that it doesn't deserve to be rated on a scale. It's not a 2 out of 10, it's not a 3 out of 10, it's not a 1 out of 10. It's so bad it's in the shadow realm. This extremely negative reaction was actually a tad bit surprising. I say a tad bit because if you're not an NF fan, I can see how can be difficult to buy into his music because, like Fantano points out in his review, NF's music is 100% self focused. It is, in a way, very narcissistic music. NF is constantly talking about, even among his very best songs and music, talking about himself and talking about his position and his influence in the world of music. Anyway, I digressed. I was saying that it was kind of surprising that Fantano's review was so freaking negative because my first reaction to this album was extremely positive. I thought the singles for the album, Hope and Motto, were both very flawed tracks in their own ways. There are admirable aspects to both of them, particularly towards either NF's presence and performance on the track or in the production of the track. But there was plenty to not like. And then Careful came on. And I'm like, this is a banger. And I was so hyped for that Corday feature. I thought Corday was good. Even Fantano gave Corday some credit. The song is kind of a banger. And then Mama made me cry, man. And my voice is, I'm not getting emotional. My voice is, I'm a little bit sick. But Mama is a very, very good song. One of the best songs of the year. One of the best songs NF has ever made. It's extremely emotional. It's great musically. It's really, really great lyrically, and that's where it really stands out. Great performance. Extremely personal, heartbreaking track, and I'm very, very glad that Fantano sung this song's praises because it truly is a really great song. Going on from there, I was just really happy with the album always keeping me on my toes because The Search, in my opinion, is like the worst NF album. It is so freaking boring. Like, it is NF doing the same thing for like 20 tracks. Like, he's got like 3 different tracks, which is like the melodramatic ballad, like Trauma, and then he's got like the sort of pop appealing track, and then he's got like the bangers. And this album just kept me on my toes, either with NF's singing. He does a lot of singing on this album, which you don't really get to see in most of his music, but he really just leans into that on Hope, which just surprised me, specifically with the song Happy, which almost sounds like kind of like a Post Malone track because it's trying to be like a pop song, but it's also by a rapper sort of. And it's just kind of, and then Pandemonium was kind of weird, and Suffice had that hype beat, and then Gone had those just explosions of sound. And I just really liked how the album always kept me guessing. The album always kept me interested, even when the album wasn't really great. The second half of the album is a little bit weaker, in my opinion. It does kind of see NF falling into his own tropes with the ballads, Mistake and Running. Running has a great hook. Like, NF's voice is awesome on that chorus. Like, he really sells it. But Mistake, it's not bad. It just sounds kind of boring. Bullet and Turn My Back are not very interesting. Let Him Pray is more decent, like one of the more decent, like NF, like, self-aggrandizing hype tracks where he talks about comparing himself. And this song, he just kind of name drops like a ton of different rappers and talks about how he's different and I can do whatever I want. I don't have to. He's kind of on his J. Cole, he's like, I don't need a feature. I'm only going to have a feature if I really mess with them, and like, but I don't need them to be successful. Yeah. More than anything else, in Fantano's review, he had a problem with NF's place in the music industry and NF's just extreme fixation on his own mythology and on his own fan base and his own place in the world of music. And I fully understand that complaint. Like, I can't let that, like, I can't just dismiss that argument. Like, yes, NF is completely self obsessed on this album, and he has been basically forever. Maybe a little bit more humble on his first two albums, Mansion and Therapy Session, but he still was very self-reflective on those albums. But now instead of just personal self-reflection, it's more like reflection in the grand scheme of music. And I fully understand the complaints, but I also think this album, just musically speaking, is a big step up, even from the Clouds mixtape. I know a lot of people really like the Clouds mixtape, but I personally think this album is more interesting. Lyrically speaking, like I said, it's definitely not the strongest NF project, and that really is where most of my issues will lie with this thing. Even when it is being emotional and stuff, like, this album is going to be very emotional for a lot of people, and it is going to be very moving, and it's going to help them in a lot of ways, because NF's fan base is a lot of very hurting people. Like, it's people who, like, identify with this pain. And it is a sort of, like Fantano said, a bit of a marketable type of pain, like on the song Happy. It really does feel like there's some radio appeal. And even in the song Gone, even though I actually really like that song, I think it's a strong track musically, lyrically, whatever. I like the Julia Michaels feature, actually. Wasn't expecting to enjoy that feature so much. But yeah, I could see lyrically how the album is definitely has some shortcomings and some just very specific fixations, which can turn a lot of people off. And some people are not going to be bothered by it at all. The fan base has already bought into NF's mythology and his own self obsession, and so they're not going to have that problem with this album, most likely. Anyway, I've said plenty of words. I don't think the album is not good. I think this album is a step in the right direction for NF. But like I said, I don't mess with most of this album. Like, I'm never gonna put this on, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't think it's all terrible. I think it's a step in the right direction for NF, and I'm happy about that. But the lyrics can be a tad bit annoying. I respect the ambition on the album when it is being ambitious and audacious. I like some of the tracks. I like some of the beats. I like a lot of the performances, even though some of his singing vocals are a little bit awkward. It's just not an album that personally appeals to me, which is why I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. I'll say like a decent 5 out of 10 for me. Like, it's not light to decent 5. You know, it's not terrible, using Fantano's scale. Giving this album a light to decent 5 makes me feel like I really hated the Clouds mixtape, but the Clouds mixtape actually isn't that bad. So I haven't reviewed that on the channel. If I do review that on the channel, I might give that a higher score than this, because it really is it's not a bad project. It might be better than this one, actually. Fantano would definitely agree that it's better than this one. But thanks for watching the video. If you're an NF fan, let me hear the fan perspective. Did I bring any nuance to the conversation, or do I sound like a shill? Do I sound like I'm just selling out for just saying what the Fantano fans want me to say and trying to be empathetic, but not really? I don't even know where I stand, because I used to be an NF fan. Like, he's one of the first rappers I was really, like, a fan of. And I used to get, like, really, really hyped whenever he's doing a new release. And I was hyped for this album. But I'm not crazy about it. Thanks for watching the video. Have a great rest of your day.